What is up? And today we're going to get into the Atlanta Hawks. But before we get started, I just want to tell you guys to hit that subscribe button, like, comment, share this with your friends and family, and to continue to support my channel. For those of you that don't know, the Atlanta Hawks have been playing some really good basketball. Recently they were on a 6-game winning streak before, losing pretty badly to the Denver Nuggets the other night. Shout out to Nikola Jokic, who's incredible. But, like I said, the Atlanta Hawks were playing some good basketball. They were on a 6-game winning streak. They have won 9 out of 14. And right now they're 13-12. They have a record of 13-12. They're 7th in the East. And if you look at their wins over this winning streak that they were on, the Hawks beat the Cleveland Cavaliers twice. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, the Hawks beat the Cavs twice. And we all know how great the Cavs have looked this year. And so you got wins over them. They also had a win against the Milwaukee Bucks, who were playing really good. And the other night they had a win against the Los Angeles Lakers. LeBron James and Anthony Davis. And look, that was an awesome game the other night that them two teams played. And so the Hawks have a win over them. Along with, outside of this streak that they were on, they recently beat the Boston Celtics and the New York Knicks. And so the Atlanta Hawks have strung together some really good wins over some pretty to really good teams. And so the Hawks haven't been beaten up on bottom feeders. They've beaten up on good teams over this stretch. And so shout out to the Atlanta Hawks. And look, I said earlier in the year that if this team could get healthy, that I thought that this team could string together a run and go on a nice little streak and put together some wins. And that's exactly what they've done. They've been playing some really good basketball. Defensively, they have been much improved. I think right now they're like 19th in defense, which, look, is not great, but it's a lot better than they've been on that side of the ball. And I think over this stretch, over the last 14 games, they're currently 13th in defensive rating. So they're in the top half in the league in defense. And so the defense has been much better. And for those of you that have been paying attention to the Atlanta Hawks in the past, defense has been a weak spot. And so they are playing some defense lately. And, when you look at this stretch that the Hawks have been on, the question is like, why? How they're playing? How they're winning? Who's been the key contributors to this stretch for the Hawks? And for me, the one guy that I want to single out is DeAndre Hunter. And for me, I want to offer DeAndre Hunter an apology. Because before the season started, I didn't know what to expect from DeAndre Hunter. I honestly did not know what to expect because the Hawks drafted Zachary Richeshay, and you just wondered, like, what's his role's going to be? Is he going to start? Is he going to come off the bench? Is he going to play the 4? Is he going to play the 3? Like, what is his role going to look like? Will he be out of place? What would DeAndre Hunter's role look like? And look, DeAndre Hunter has been fantastic to start off the season. You look at his numbers, the man is averaging 19 points a game. He's shooting 47% from the field, and he's shooting 42% from 3. Career highs for DeAndre Hunter. And if there's 2 things that I think Quinn Snyder has done right since he's been a coach of this basketball team, the first thing I think he's done right is he's developed Jalen Johnson and he's put him in a position for him to thrive. But the other thing that he's done outside of what he's done with Jalen Johnson is he has reinvented DeAndre Hunter's game. And what I mean by that is he has taken out DeAndre Hunter, kind of like the fat of the fat out of his game. DeAndre Hunter, before Quinn Snyder was here, when he was coaching, when he was under Nate McMillan, he was a mid-range shooter. That was kind of his game. He would take a lot of mid-range shots. He would jab, step. He would, dribble 5 times and hit a pull-up. And at times it was kind of hard to watch. Like, DeAndre Hunter previously was a player that it just felt like I was watching a lesser athletic Carmelo Anthony. And that's like, good and bad, so to speak. But it just wasn't looking right watching DeAndre Hunter previously. And so now when you watch DeAndre Hunter, he's taking a lot more threes. He's getting to the basket. He's more decisive, with his decision making. And yes, he's still taking the mid-range shots, but they're not forced. He's only taking these mid-range jumpers when they're the best available shot to him. And so he's doing a really good job of just, he's decisive. He's making quick decisions. If the 3-point shot's there, he's taking it. If the lane is open, he's getting to the rim. He's getting to the free throw line a little more. And again, like he's still taking his mid-range shots, when they're available to him. And as a result of that, his efficiency is going up. Like I said, he's averaging a career high 19 points a game. And when you look at the presence of DeAndre Hunter on this year's Hawk team, the Hawks need him. They need him. The Atlanta Hawks right now, when DeAndre Hunter plays, the Hawks are 10-4. 10-4 when DeAndre Hunter plays. And when he misses games, when he doesn't play, the Atlanta Hawks are 3-8. And so that is a big difference for this team with DeAndre Hunter. Like he's been fantastic. And at this rate, the way that DeAndre Hunter is playing, like this is a man that's confident. He's more confident than he's ever been. He's more aggressive than he's ever been. He's more in himself. And if DeAndre Hunter keeps this up, I think he's going to have a real legit chance of winning 6th Man of the Year. Like I really do, because he's been fantastic and he leads all 6 men in scoring. Now there is Peyton Pritchard in Boston. He's also doing this thing. But you look at his numbers compared to where DeAndre Hunter is. DeAndre Hunter's numbers are better than Peyton Pritchard's in my eyes. And so if DeAndre Hunter can keep this level of play up, I think he's going to have a legit chance of winning 6th Man of the Year. And quite frankly, the Atlanta Hawks are just a better basketball team because they need his scoring. Like it's just obvious when DeAndre Hunter plays and doesn't play. Like when he doesn't play, you don't have that scoring and shooting off the bench. Whereas with him, he just gives the Atlanta Hawks a different dimension that they just don't have. And so, again, shout out DeAndre Hunter. Fans, especially Hawk fans, they've been critical of his play at times. And this season, he's answered a bell. Like he's making a real impact on this team, and specifically as a scorer. 3-level scorer, I might add. And so shout out to DeAndre Hunter for that. The other guy that I want to give a shout out to, and I mentioned his name before, is Jalen Johnson. He's another player I want to mention as to why the Atlanta Hawks have played so well. Jalen Johnson, you look at his numbers. The man is averaging 20 points, 10 rebounds, and 5 assists on 50% shooting and 35% from 3. And so Jalen Johnson is just continuing to get better and better and better. Really by the game when you watch him play. Like he's just more, again, another guy who's just more confident. What I enjoy about Jalen Johnson specifically is just his athleticism and just his ability to just push the ball, in an open court. He can grab and go. He can get a rebound and just, go coast to coast dribbling the ball, and he can dunk on you if there's a lane, or he can make a great pass. He's a great playmaker. You see him trying to throw these left-handed passes at times when he's in transition, if he's in pick and roll, with Onyeka Okongwu or Clint Capella. And so Jalen Johnson, his playmaking continues to shine, and he's always been a very good passer for his position and height. And so he's doing a nice job of that. His jump shot is continuing to get better. He struggled early shooting the three ball, but his 3-point shot's coming around recently. And so he's doing a nice job making threes. And look, when you're 6'9" and that athletic, the way Jalen Johnson is, I mean, you're going to be hard to handle. And he's a guy that's getting to the cup. Look, he still has some ways to go as a half-court shot creator, but he's even shown better flashes of that lately. Look, this is a guy, when you're 6'9" and that athletic, it's hard to keep out. It's hard to keep him out of the lane, out of the paint. And Jalen Johnson has done a really nice job of just asserting himself more. And he is a player that is continuing to get better. One can make an argument that he's very deserving of at least all-star consideration, maybe even making an all-star team altogether. And just the production that Jalen Johnson has given this team has been huge. And look, the Hawks, paid this man before the season started. Like, they gave him a 5-year, $130 million deal. And based off of what we've seen so far from Jalen Johnson, he is absolutely worth that contract that he got. And so he to me, he's been huge. And just the sky, I can't say enough about Jalen Johnson. Like, the sky is the limit for this young man. Like, he's a terrific player. Like, to me, when I look at player comps, like, Jalen Johnson is like a modern day version of Josh Smith and Boris Diaw. Like, that's my comparison. And like I said, Hawk fans that paid attention to Josh Smith, like, knew how dynamic of a player he was during his heyday. And Jalen Johnson is of that same milk. Just a modern day Josh Smith, Boris Diaw, high IQ. Yeah, he has Josh Smith's athleticism and physical tools, and you combine that with Boris Diaw's IQ, and you got yourself one hell of a player. And I think this is a young man that's going to continue to get better. Like this man is 22 years old. 22. He's going to be 23 in a few weeks. And so he's a young man that just continues to get better and better and better. And so shout out to Jalen Johnson. He's also a guy that he's that guy that can take pressure, that's taking pressure off Trae Young. When Trae Young is double teamed, Trae Young has a nice little release valve that he can go to, and he can just hand the ball off to Jalen Johnson, and Jalen Johnson can, if there's a lane open, he'll take it. Or if someone's in the paint, he'll make the right pass and find the open shooter. And so, again, shout out to Jalen Johnson. And, the third guy, another guy I want to shout out. And look, we mentioned this guy name before on the pod, on my YouTube channel. Dyson Daniels. Can't forget about Dyson Daniels. Ever since I made the little episode about Dyson Daniels, I've been getting some comments and reactions to that video that I did, but he's continued to play great. Dyson Daniels, the Great Barrier Thief. By the way, the Great Barrier Thief might be the best nickname in all the professional sports. Seriously. I mean, you can't find a better nickname than that. The Great Barrier Thief. But Dyson Daniels, aka the Great Barrier Thief, has continued to be awesome. He's getting deflections, he's getting steals. Defensively, he's just unbelievable. And again, like he's provided exactly what the Atlanta Hawks have been missing for years as a point of attack defender, a guy that can just defend on the ball. He can get deflections, he can make plays off the ball. And offensively, look, he's not perfect offensively. His jump shot can be a little suspect, but I think he's more confident shooting the ball. And so whether he makes or misses, he's taking those jump shots. And I've been impressed with his slashing ability, his ability to get to the paint. He has a nice little floater that he utilizes a lot. And he's just a confident player. And he's been huge again on this stretch. And so I think Dyson Daniels just continues to play better. And Trae Young, again, it's funny, we've gone through this episode. I haven't even mentioned Trae Young. But Trae Young, he leads the league in assists, with over 12 a game. And look, his efficiency as a scorer just hasn't been there. His scoring is down at 20 a game. His efficiency is down. He's only shooting 38.5% from the field. He's shooting 31% from three. And so the scoring efficiency hasn't been there. In my opinion, I think I think his Achilles has been bothering him a little bit. If you notice on the injury report, he's been listed as probable for his Achilles tendonitis. So I gotta imagine that's still been hampering him a little bit. But I also think this with Trae. Quinn Snyder has his team playing differently. There's been a lot more ball movement. The Hawks are third in the league in assist rate. And so they're moving the ball. They're making a concerted effort to not have Trae do everything all the time. They're having him play more off ball. He's setting more screens. And so, look, even though Trae Young's efficiency hasn't been there, and I think eventually the efficiency is going to creep back up because I think Trae Young is just too good of a player for him to be this low on the efficiency scale. Even despite that, I've been really pleased with how Trae Young has looked just overall. Like, you just watch him, and you can just tell he's just bought in into what Quinn Snyder is doing. Like I said, he's doing more stuff off the ball. And look, defensively, he's putting in a lot more effort. Quite frankly, he's putting in a lot more effort on the defensive end since Quinn Snyder got here. So it's been nearly 2 years of Trae Young putting in effort on defense. But just the playmaking, the passing. He's just an unbelievable passer. That's always been the strength of his game. People want to pay attention to the scoring. And look, I think long term, the Hawks are going to need Trae Young to score more efficiently if this team wants to really go far and do more things for the rest of the season and maybe even entering the playoffs. So that's going to have to happen for Trae Young. But the playmaking, the passing is just ridiculous. He makes passes that nobody outside of like 3 or 4 dudes in the league can make. And when I'm looking at passers, I'm talking about Nikola Jokic, Luka Doncic, James Harden, those type of guys. Like, Trae Young as a playmaker is in that conversation with all of those guys. And so when I look at Trae Young's, playmaking, he's been huge. He's been phenomenal, and he's been the reason why he's kept the Atlanta Hawks offense afloat. The Atlanta Hawks offense has been better when Trae Young is on the floor than when he's not on the floor. And it's because of how much of a playmaker that he is, diming people up. Every single game lately, you look at the stat sheet from Trae Young, and he's getting you 16, 17, 18 assists. Just the other night against Cleveland, he had 22. He had 22 assists. Against the Lakers the other night, he had over 20 assists in that game. And so Trae Young is doing a really good job of just diming people up, finding, guys rolling to the basket. He's finding open shooters. And just the attention that he draws. Even if he's not scoring well, you still have to account for him. You still have to put, 2 people on him because he's still a threat to kill you. Shooting the ball, getting to the paint, getting to a exploder that he loves. And so even if Trae Young isn't scoring efficiently, he's still making an impact on the team. And he's bought into things on the floor, moving off ball, setting screens for his teammates. You see, Trae Young and Jalen Johnson have a nice little chemistry where Trae Young is setting the screen for Jalen, and Jalen's a ball handler and he's going to the basket. And Trae Young is doing more of that stuff. And I think he deserves real credit for that because he's doing things that on the floor that, he really wasn't really doing a couple of years ago. And it kind of shows you just how much he's evolved as a basketball player. And so shout out to Trae Young. even if he's not scoring efficiently, and even if I do want him to, look, there are times when I watch Trae Young, I still wish he could shoot more. I don't. There are times in the season during this stretch where Trae Young is taking 10 or 11 shots, or he's taking 5 shots in the first half, and I'm like, come on, Trae, like we got to be aggressive. We need you. And so there are times where I wish Trae Young could be more aggressive offensively as a scorer, but at the same time, like I can respect the fact that Trae Young is trying to get his teammates involved. He's trying to get them going. He's trying to be unselfish. And, for the most part, like it's kind of worked. The team's winning. And like I said, recently the Atlanta Hawks, they've won 6 out of 7. They've won 9 out of 14 games. And so the Atlanta Hawks are winning, and I think Trae Young deserves some credit, some real credit for how he's been buying into what Quinn Snyder is selling. And so shout out to Trae Young for that. But with that said, as I want to, move on, the Atlanta Hawks, they have the NBA Cup. They're playing the New York Knicks, for the NBA Cup. And, the Atlanta Hawks, they've advanced. And look, they've, like I said, they've won games against the Boston Celtics and the Cleveland Cavaliers. And so they won their division in the NBA Cup, and they played the New York Knicks. And so as the Hawks have advanced into the NBA Cup, and as they are going to take on the New York Knicks, in my eyes, looking at this game and this moment that the Hawks have in front of them, I think this is a big opportunity for the Atlanta Hawks. I think this is a big opportunity for a player like Jalen Johnson. I think this is a big opportunity for Dyson Daniels. Hell, I think this is a big opportunity for Trae Young, in this NBA Cup, because with this NBA Cup, everyone's going to be watching. The Atlanta Hawks are going to be the only game on TV. They're going to be the only team, them and the Knicks. That's going to be the only sports, event on television. The game's going to be televised on ESPN, right? And this is a big event. And in my eyes, this is a big opportunity for this franchise, and for some of these players to make a name for themselves. This is an opportunity for Jalen Johnson. If he plays well, this is an opportunity for the world, the basketball universe, to recognize, like, okay, this guy Jalen Johnson can play. This is an opportunity for a guy like him to make a name for himself, for people to recognize how good he is. Maybe it could help his brand, in the future. And so I look at a guy like Jalen Johnson, using this NBA Cup for him to make a name for himself. I think this is an opportunity for Dyson Daniels, for people to recognize that this is one of the best defenders in the league, maybe the best defender in all of basketball. This is a guy that I think is going to be a defensive player of the year candidate, along with players like, Victor Wembanyama and, Evan Mobley, or whoever else you want to throw in that conversation. And so I think this is an opportunity for him. This is an opportunity for Trae Young. I think this is an opportunity for Trae Young. Look, we all know the deal with Trae Young. I've said it on this episode many a times. I think Trae Young is the most disrespected, underappreciated, and most underrated star player in the league. And I still believe that. And look, when you look at young players in this league, in the NBA right now, there's a lot of guys that get a lot of notoriety, get a lot of recognition, before Trae Young. You got, Jason Tatum. You got Luka Doncic. You have Anthony Edwards. You have Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. You have, I'm trying to think of some other guys. Donovan Mitchell. There's a lot of guys that get a lot of notoriety, get a lot of recognition, before Trae Young. And I think this is an opportunity for Trae Young to remind people, like, look, I'm still that dude. Like, I'm still arguably one of the top 5 point guards in the league. Jalen Brunson's another guy, gets a lot of recognition, right? And so this is an opportunity for a player like Trae Young to remind the world, like, I'm still one of the best point guards in the league. Like, this is like, I can still get you 25 and 10. And there's no one like me that can score the way that I can and play make the way that I can and pass the ball the way that I can. And so this is an opportunity for Trae Young to remind the world that I'm still one of the best players in the league. And I think this NBA Cup is a real opportunity for Trae Young and Jalen Johnson and Dyson Daniels, and quite frankly, for the rest of these Atlanta Hawk players and coaches to make a name for themselves, to put myself on the map, and to remind people that, look, man, I'm that dude. We're coming. We're an up and coming team. The Atlanta Hawks are up and coming, and we're here to surprise people, and we're here to make a statement. And so I think the Atlanta Hawks have a real opportunity coming up in this NBA Cup, starting with the New York Knicks, to, shock the world, make something happen. And so I'm looking forward to seeing what the Atlanta Hawks are going to do in this NBA Cup. And look, when you look at how this team is playing recently, the Atlanta Hawks are making some noise. They're surprising some people. They're fun to watch. And the Atlanta Hawks, they've become the team that I thought that they would be before the season started, which is a pretty good team that could, make the playoffs and make some headway in the Eastern Conference. And when this team is healthy, when I look at Jalen Johnson and Trae Young and Dyson Daniels and DeAndre Hunter and Bogey and Zachary Ricochet, and even Clint Capella, I'm liking, this is a good Atlanta Hawks team. It's a good Atlanta Hawks team that we've been witnessing over these last 2 to 3 weeks. And so I'm looking forward to that continuing, especially heading to this NBA Cup. And I'm ready to see what this team is going to do moving forward, because I'm excited. It's some exciting times to be a Hawk fan right now. And so let's see what this team is made of moving forward. And, I think they're going to continue surprising some folks.